Well, welcome today to our episode of the Children First Family Law podcast. I am very excited to have with us Dr. Ann Ordway, who is going to be speaking with us today about the very important and interesting topic of step families. She has a really interesting background herself and has done a lot of work in this area. And so welcome. Thanks for doing this with me today.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Krista. I appreciate it. This is probably one of my favorite topics. I think, as you know, I practiced family law for many years in New Jersey before I went on and got my master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and a PhD in counselor education and supervision. But this particular topic is very near and dear to my heart because of my own step family journey. And that's really what motivated me to become trained as a step family coach, therapist, and mediator through the Step Family Foundation in New York with Jeanette Lofus. And I've also had the benefit of doing a lot of work with Patricia Papper now, who's in Massachusetts, who is considered also one of the gurus in the field of step family. So
That is great. We've not talked about step families specifically on the podcast yet, so I'm really interested to hear the dynamics both of your personal experience and what you've learned. So maybe let's start by just chatting about what do you think, just as an initial matter, people need to understand about the dynamics of what sort of foundational things they need to understand when we're thinking about people that have been divorced and they're bringing families together. Of course, I'm a child of the 70s. I think about the Brady Bunch. It's that sort of thing, right? All of you younger people need to go find that and watch it, and Alice and the Gang. Tell us what those foundational principles are that people need to really think about.
So, that's a really important question. And I love that you alluded to the Brady Bunch because one of my favorite expressions when I was raising my own step family was I would say, Alice doesn't live here. Because the Brady Bunch really made it look simple because they had a full-time live-in housekeeper who really assisted with the kids and made dinner. And, that really gave Mrs. Brady more time to do her hair and volunteer in the community.
Right.
And, kind of keep everybody in line. So, Mr. and Mrs. Brady had time for romance and building their relationship, even though they were juggling 6 kids. Some of the things that are really important, I think, is the underscoring of the simple fact that most step families are born from loss. And so, what I mean by that is that you're talking about recoupling, where the original family has been extinguished either through the process of separation and divorce, estrangement between the parents, sometimes death. And so the children have all experienced the loss of what they knew in terms of their parents' relationship. Sometimes that's for the better when you're talking about cases where there's family violence dynamics. But often, even when there's family violence dynamics, the children have to navigate a transition, and that's not easy. Many people kind of jump into their new relationship and recouple because they think, wow, this is going to be happily ever after. I'm in love. This is great. It's a new chance at love. And those are terrific concepts. But when we don't consider the needs of the children involved, we tend to leave them behind.
What happens when a parent is sort of getting out ahead of where a kid is on this? Like it seems very common that sometimes we have parents quick to recouple.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about that a little bit, like kind of timing of it. I don't know if there's like research on how much time kids actually need to sort of live into this or ways to introduce. I mean, those are probably all multiple topics here that we can hit here as we talk. But is there, I guess my first question would be, is there a tendency you think of parents to want to kind of like jump back in a lot and to do that quickly? What do we need to think about that?
So I think that it's true that a lot of parents jump in too quickly and it's a little bit of a runaway train. I don't know that there's a magic answer for exactly how much time somebody should wait because I think it's very um, family centric and individual child centric. Sometimes one child is ready in the family and is thrilled about a recoupling, and another child just isn't having it. And what happens sometimes is that when parents jump in too quickly, they find themselves dealing with a lot of little explosions after the fact, which really make the process that much harder and that much more difficult for individual family members. A really important statistic, the last time I checked, 2 out of every 3 remarriages with children in tow end in divorce. So that is a much higher statistic than what we're even dealing with in terms of first marriages ending in divorce. And a lot of times it's because they didn't take the time to navigate the children issues at the forefront.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are there any statistics about this is really like in the weeds potentially, but is it more successful if one parent is bringing the kids in tow and the new couple, like if only one side of the new marriage has a child, or does that not matter?
They kind of get blended in because
Okay.
if you have somebody that's never had children, for example, they're learning a parenting role and what it is to be I'm going to say a quasi authority figure in a child's life without having brought that own experience, that experience on their own from their own dynamic. So now you have kids who are used to, I'm going to say mom, who are used to their dad from their parent relationship. And now here's this new guy coming in or this new woman coming in who's going to try and tell them what to do with no other experience, not really knowing those kids. So, it kind of all folds into when there are pre-existing children, why some of those relationships fizzle out quickly.
When we look at attachment theory, then what does that do to kids? What do parents need to worry about how that impacts a kid now and later?
I think it really has an impact on trust. And what we know from Erickson's theory is that trust and mistrust are the primary psychosocial crises that children build on and navigate in their first year of life. And they really learn, who can I trust? Who can I go to have my needs met? What is my secure base from which to explore the world? And so, even if they've done that successfully, in their first year of life, there were other events that happen later on. I think divorce can be one of them, especially when the other parent is not a constant, a consistent person in their life. Um, that compromises trust and it makes them think like, okay, well, what's really forever? And what can I really count on? And then when you have these new relationships and like, oh, this is your new, and in some families, this is your new dad. This is mom's new partner. This is dad's new wife. This is your new stepmom. And the kids are taught to kind of build those relationships and expect a constant, consistent, stable role in their life. Sometimes that's not their experience. But when it is, and then that's ripped apart, that also, in my opinion, compromises trust and sends a message, which I think then impacts children as they get older in their peer relationships. I think it impacts their dating relationships. I think it also impacts their own ability to navigate coupling and marriage and family.
Okay, so what if you're a parent that's already messed this up? Okay, like I have done everything wrong. I moved my new hubby in and introduced my kids in the kitchen to my new husband, and then I divorced him and I got a new hubby. And it's just this revolving door. I've already caused a lot of pain for my kid. Like, what are the ways? It's probably obvious answer, but what do you say to those parents about, maybe I've done this wrong, but I want to kind of fix it
I think therapy is really helpful. And, I
for the
think,
kid and the parent, or for who?
well, I think for everybody,
Okay.
I think that the parent that you just described probably would benefit from individual therapy to really take a look at um, the choices that they're making
Mm.
and how they can make better choices. But I think having therapy between that parent and their children is also beneficial. And part of what might have to happen, and what I would do certainly if I was in that situation, is I would encourage a level of acknowledgement ownership and even apology by that parent where, hey, kid, these are some of the things that I did. This is what I see as having been the impact to you. And I'm sorry. And let's talk
Mhm.
about how we're going to navigate this differently going forward.